Hello, my name is Reverend Dr. May Elise Cannon. Today is Tuesday, July 16th. Today is day 284 since October 7th. The Guardian News said today that at least 60 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes in the southern Gaza Strip, including one hit that Israel declared a safe zone that was crowded with thousands of displaced people. The day's deadliest strike came this afternoon when it hit a fuel station outside of the southern city of Khan Yunis in Mawasi, which is a coastal region that's in a part of this humanitarian safe zone where the Israeli military had told Palestinians to take refuge to escape bombing that was happening in offensive in other locations. The Guardian also reported that Israeli residents who had been displaced from parts of the Gaza envelope, the kibbutzim along the Gaza border, Israelis who'd been displaced from South Israel after October 7th and had relocated to the northern part of Israel on the border with the southern, with South Lebanon, those communities are now bracing for another conflict, potentially with Hezbollah on the northern border of Israel. An Iranian television presenter who was attacked in London by men believed to be acting for the Tehran regime has fled to Israel, saying that he no longer felt safe in the United Kingdom. He said that the UK's approach to the threat that was posed by Iran on British soil would not guarantee his safety. In Iran, Tehran remains open to resuming negotiations with Washington here in the United States, related to the possibility of restoring their participation in the nuclear agreement. Iran's acting foreign minister told Newsweek this week, today specifically, an interview was published that indicated that Tehran was open to resuming negotiations. Ali Bagheri Khani had remarks that he prepared to address the United Nations Security Council in New York. Yesterday, Al Jazeera posted an article that said Israel strikes 5 schools in a week of massacres. There have been so many attacks of civil infrastructure, including schools, this past week. 5 schools, 5 separate schools in the past 8 days. Dozens of people have been killed. Palestinian reports, medics, rescuers. The latest attack on Sunday was a UN school, and Abi Oraban was the name of the school. It was in the Nuseirat refugee camp. 17 people were killed on Sunday. About 80 people were injured. Most of the victims were women and children. That was according to the Palestinian Civil Defense in Gaza. And another report came through today that there was another attack on a school called the Al-Razi School in Gaza, where at least 23 people were killed. The government's media office said that at least 23 were killed and 73 additional people were injured. This was in the Nuseirat refugee camp. This is another place that was sheltering displaced people. UNRWA has said that 70% of the UNRWA schools in Gaza have been bombed since October 7th. Israeli forces battled Hamas-led fighters in several areas across Gaza throughout the day today, while Palestinian health officials have said that at least 13 people were killed in Israeli bombardments in other locations throughout the Gaza Strip. In Rafah, the southern border city, where Israeli forces have been operating since May, 5 Palestinians were killed when an airstrike was on a house, while in nearby Khan Yunis, a man, his wife, and 2 children were killed. Several Palestinians were killed and wounded in an airstrike that targeted Khan Yunis today. It struck a tent area that housed displaced people on a street called Attar Street. The death tolls the past several days they've increased magnifold. The death total since October 7th in Gaza is at least 38,713 Palestinians killed. Those injured is approaching 90,000. It's at least 89,166 people injured in the military offensive on Gaza since October 7th. The U.S. Secretary of State Blinken had a meeting with 2 senior Israeli officials and voiced concern over the most recent deadly airstrikes by Israel in the Gaza Strip. According to a spokesperson from the State Department, he met with Ron Dermer and the National Security Advisor of Israel, Hanegbi, to express serious concerns about the recent civilian casualties in Gaza. According to the spokesperson from the State Department, Matthew Miller. I contacted the White House on Saturday. We meet with them regularly. We have numerous contacts at the White House. And I just stated that I was appalled that we had not had a direct, communication from President Biden about the attack that happened on Saturday. And so this is the first that we've heard of a senior official, it's Tuesday, speaking out. Israeli police said officers shot and killed a Palestinian after he stabbed a police officer in the occupied territories in the West Bank today. The police officer was slightly injured, and he shot and killed the attacker. They identified the Palestinian as a 19-year-old who was from the Gaza Strip. It was not immediately clear what the person was doing in the West Bank. Israeli air and naval strikes plummeted or pummeled Gaza. This is according to The Guardian, as the UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy reiterated his demand for a ceasefire. The UK Foreign Secretary is visiting Jerusalem right now. The strikes on central Gaza followed 2 days of particularly deadly attacks. And so this is summarizing what I already communicated, where at least 90 people were killed when, and I talked about this yesterday, where Hamas's military wing chief, Mohammed Diaf, was targeted. There have been no confirmations of whether or not he was injured or killed. In Deir al-Balah, in the central Gaza Strip, the municipality issued an urgent statement. Deir al-Balah in the central Gaza Strip, they said that they're no longer able to provide drinking water that provides water to 700,000 people because they have run out of fuel. So the municipality has been providing fuel, they've been using gas, and they've run out of fuel. So they're no longer able to provide water for 700,000 people. In the southern Gaza city of Rafah, the main focus of the Israel offensive since May. This was Biden's red line, if you remember, at the beginning of May. That feels like a long, long time ago. Residents reported renewed fighting yesterday. The military reported intensified aerial and tank shelling in central Gaza in the Al-Barej and Al-Maghazi historic refugee camps. David Lammy called for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza during his first visit to Israel and the Palestinian territories as the UK Foreign Secretary. And Gaza's health ministry updated the death toll from the Israeli airstrike that happened on the school in central Gaza on Sunday. It was initially 15 people killed, and it's been updated to 22. Yemen's Houthis targeted 3 vessels, including an oil tanker, in the Red and Mediterranean seas with ballistic missiles, drones, and booby-trapped boats yesterday, according to the militant group. So this was reported by the Houthi military spokesperson, who said the latest Houthi military operations were a response to the latest Israeli military airstrike on the southern Gaza Strip city of Khan Yunis. And so they said that their attacks were a direct response to the Israeli attacks on Gaza. I wanted to close by just telling you a story. I'm not sure if you heard, this happened on this happened on a plane here in the United States. It happened on a Delta Airlines flight. So in the US, on a Delta Airlines flight, a passenger posted a photograph of 2 flight attendants without their consent. They were wearing Palestinian flag pins. And the person who took this photograph referred to these pins, the Palestinian flag, as Hamas badges. The post was put up on X, formerly Twitter, and it prompted a wave of criticism towards Delta Airlines. Shortly after the images were published, Delta's official X account responded and said, quote, "Nothing to worry. This is being investigated already," end quote. And the official Delta account said, "I hear you. I would be terrified as well," end quote. The airline subsequently deleted that post and then issued an apology and said that it was a hurtful post. And then on Wednesday, they removed the reply and said it was not in line with their values. Again, this is Delta Airlines. Delta's Association of Flight Attendants, in a letter to the company's chief executive on July 11th, said that the flight attendants that were wearing these Palestinian flag pins, who were, posted, their picture was posted. This was completely against their will. They did not get any permission. They were subject to harassment after the pictures were taken without their consent. It was circulated on social media with false, inflammatory, and discriminatory allegations. The union of Delta's social media responses showed contempt for current employees, and subsequent lack of public response and concern for the safety of crew members is unacceptable, and they called for a public apology from management. It was just announced this week that Delta Airlines had changed its employee uniform policy following this controversy that involved these 2 flight attendants who were wearing the Palestinian flag pins, that this whole social media frenzy happened, and that Delta Airlines said that it was unacceptable the way they responded. There's a new dress code that took effect yesterday that prohibits Delta employees from wearing pins representing any country besides that of the United States. And so I wanted to let you know that that had happened. That was reported in Al Jazeera. I do hope that you're participating. This Sunday is Solidarity Sunday. I hope that your church at a minimum is praying for peace. You can go to our website, all of those resources. We have so many videos. Munther Isaac, Bishop Azar from the Lutherans. We have Catholic Bishop Shamali. We have Orthodox Abuna Emmanuel from Abud. We have Palestinian Christians. These videos are beautiful. Bashara Awad from Bethlehem Bible College. Please, please, please have your church put a prayer for peace in the bulletin, include a prayer for peace, include a prayer for an end to the bombing of Gaza, for the prevention of genocide. We have all these resources available for Solidarity Sunday, and we're going to have a virtual service on Sunday afternoon, East Coast time. So be sure to look for that. We're announcing it on social media this week. Look for it in the bulletin on Friday. Join us for Solidarity Sunday, and Lord have mercy. Christ have mercy. Amen.